Hello and a very good afternoon to all of you and welcome to GradeUp, India's largest online learning platform. My name is Kumar Prateek and I teach economy and current affairs on GradeUp platform. We are conducting 1,000 most important questions series on our GradeUp IAS YouTube channel. In this series of important questions, I am here in front of you for discussing few of the questions from the 1,000 questions which we have to discuss over the time which we'll meet every week. So before I start today's lecture in which we'll discuss certain questions, first of all, I would like to inform you we are very happy that our GradeUp family is 5 years old. We are celebrating our 5-year anniversary. So we are offering you a 5-year anniversary sale in which you can subscribe to our GradeUp Super subscription, which will provide you unlimited access to our IAS and EPFO courses plus mock test, in which a 24-month subscription will cost you only 18,000 rather than 30,000. 12-month subscription will cost you 15,120 rupees rather than 21,600 rupees, and 6-month subscription will cost you 12,000 rupees rather than 15,000 rupees. So it is a good offer for you guys. I will urge you guys to buy the subscription so that we can get to meet pretty often rather than in the YouTube lecture series, and it will help you also. So with this announcement, let's start with today's questions. The first question for today is, consider the following statement with reference to macroeconomic entities. Consider the following statement with reference to macroeconomic entities of the economy. The first statement here is that the NNP, that is Net National Product, is a measurement of annual economic output of a nation which is adjusted for depreciation. And NDP, second statement is NDP, that is Net Domestic Product, is the total value of finished goods and services produced by citizens of a country domestically and overseas, which is adjusted with depreciation. So your options are A, only 1, B, only 2, C, both 1 and 2, and D, neither 1 nor 2. So you have 40 seconds to answer this question, and after that I will tell you the answer. So the answer to this question, now I'm going to tell guys, the answer to the question is D, neither 1 nor 2. See, Net National Product is actually total value of finished goods and services produced by citizens of a country domestically and overseas, which is adjusted with depreciation. So the definition of NNP and NDP in these statements have been interchanged. So neither of the statements are right. So the answer is D. Now let's move on to the second question. The second question is, consider the following pairs with reference to different type of goods. First is consumption good, goods used either for final consumption or for investment. Second, capital goods, goods which will help production and generating income. 3, final goods, goods which satisfy human need directly. Intermediate good, goods used as input in production of other goods. So you have to tell me which of the pair are correctly matched. You have 40 seconds to answer it. Now I'll answer this question. The answer to this question is B. Consumption goods are goods used either for, not either, they're used as for final consumption. So state first is wrong. Fourth is what? Third is what? Final goods which satisfy human needs directly. This is also wrong. Final goods are consumable goods which are used finally. So 3 is also wrong. So what is right? Only 2 and 4 are right. So the answer is 2 and 4. Now let's move on to the third question. The third question is, consider the following statements with reference to capitalistic economy. The statement 1 is, in a capitalistic economy, the capitalists do not borrow the capital, but they themselves supply capital needed to run an enterprise. Statement 2, the aim of production in capitalistic economy is selling the output in the market and make profit. Okay? And statement 3 is, main sector in capitalistic economy are firms and household sector, and the government has no role in a capitalistic economy. Your options are 1 and 2. A, B option is 2 only. And you have to tell in this question which of the statement are not correct. The question says which of the statement is not correct. So please answer the question. Your options are A, 1 and 2. B is 2 only. C is 1 and 3 only. And D is 2 and 3 only. You have 40 seconds to answer the question. The answer to this question is C. Why? Because in capitalistic economy, capitalists can borrow capital. It's not that they only use their capital to run, and they can borrow capital. So 1 is wrong. And statement 3 is also wrong, because in a capitalistic economy, obviously there are in private firms and household sector a part of it, but government is also a part of capitalistic. India is a capitalistic economy. US is a capitalistic economy. Does it mean that government of US and government of India do not have a role to play in capitalistic economy? They do. So statement 1 and 2, 3 are wrong. And yes, the aim of capitalistic economy is selling whatever they have produced in the market for making profit. So statement 2 is right. So answer is 1 and 3, because we have to tell in this question which of the statement are wrong. Okay. Now move on to question number 4. With reference to the concept of macroeconomics, consider the following statement. Statement 1, macroeconomics is a bottom-up approach which focuses on supply and demand and other forces that determine price level. Statement 2 is, macroeconomics sees an economy as a combination of 4 sectors, namely household, firms, government and external sector. So you have to tell which of the statement is correct. Your options are A, 1 only, B, 2 only, C, both 1 and 2, and D, neither 1 nor 2. You have 40 seconds to answer the question. The answer to this question now I am going to give is C. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Sorry, the answer to this question, my bad, the answer to this question is B, which is statement 1 is wrong, because as you know, macroeconomic looks at the broader picture. So it's a top down approach rather than bottom up approach. So it is a top down. So statement 1 is wrong. So only the statement 2 is right. So the answer is B. Moving on to the 5th question for today. Which of the following is or are the factors that affect aggregate supply? Aggregate means total supply. First, supply shock. Okay. Second, inflation expectation. Third, supply shock. And fourth is capacity increase. Please tell which of the following is a factor that affects total supply or aggregate supply. The answer to this question is C. Supply, obviously, if there is a shock in supply, which will affect aggregate supply. If again supply shock is there, then it will affect then capacity increase. If a firm is able to increase its capacity to produce more things, then it can produce more things. So supply will increase. So 1, 3 and 4 are the right answer to this question. Why inflation expectation is not a factor? Because inflation expectation is there. Real inflation is not a reason here. It is expectation that inflation might rise. It is a presumption on my part. That is why option 2 is wrong. And your answer is 1, 3 and 4. Let's move on to the next question. It refers to total value of all final goods and services that all the sector of the economy plans to buy at a given level of income during a period. It refers to total value of all final goods and services that all sector of economy plans to buy at a given level of income during a period. So what is this defining? Is it defining aggregate demand, aggregate supply, aggregate consumption, or aggregate investment? You have 40 seconds to answer this question. The answer to this question is A, aggregate demand. So it is what? Total value of final goods and services, all sectors economy plans to buy, meaning that is referring to demand. That there is a demand for these goods to be produced which will be bought. So this is total demand, not supply, not consumption, not investment, demand. Now let's move on to the 7th question. Consider the following statement with reference to demand and supply of money. The money, statement 1 is the money which people keep with themselves depend on the rate of interest. Statement 2, supply of money includes cash balance held by central and state governments. Statement 3, supply of money does not include stock of money held by banking system of the country. So you have to answer which of these statements are correct. Please answer, you have 40 seconds. Now I'll answer the question for you guys. Let's first look at statement 1. Money, the money which people keep with themselves depend of rate of interest. If you're getting more rate of interest from bank, you will put it in your saving account. So yes, money with people depend on rate of interest. 1 is right. Now let's come to statement 3. Supply of money does not include stock of money held by banking system. When we talk about M1, M2, M3, in that stock of money kept with the banking system is not considered. Demand deposit and time deposit are considered in that way. So that is total currency, not in supply. When we talk about supply, it means that what is available with the people. So statement 3 is right. Now statement 2 is supply of money includes cash balance with central and state government. This is totally untrue. It is never included. So your correct answer is C, 1 and 3. Now let's move on to the next question. With reference to the function of money, consider the following statements. Money acts as a medium of exchange is its primary function. That is statement 1. Statement 2 is money acting as a standard for making future payment is its secondary function. Now you have to tell which of the statement is correct. This is a very easy question. The answer to this question is, let's go. Statement 1 says medium of exchange is primary function. Yes. Why do you use money as a medium of exchange? That is its primary function. And for making future payment is a secondary function. If you have to make a future payment, you keep that money. Money can come in handy for making future payments. But primary function is medium of exchange, that I have to buy 1 kg of rice, I will buy it with rupees. So statement 1 and 2 both are correct. So the answer is C. Now let's move on to the 9th question. Which of the following is are not a function of central bank of a country? 1. It assists government in issuing the currency. Okay. Then it is the sole authority to conduct open market operations. Then it helps the government to control money supply through various methods like bank rate. And 4th, it acts as a banker to the government. It is saying which are not a function of central government, central banks. You have 40 seconds to answer this question. The answer to this question, let's discuss statement wise. First statement is assist the government in issuing the currency. Government has nothing to do with issuance of currency. Issuance of currency is sole responsibility of central bank. So this statement is wrong. Now statement 2, it is the sole authority to conduct open market operation. Yes, open market operation is a policy instrument available with the, like in RBI's case, it is available with the RBI to intervene in financial market. Government cannot do it, so it is right. 1 is wrong, 2 is right. Now third statement is it helps the government to control money supply through various methods like bank rate. It has nothing to do with government. It is the central bank, like in here in India RBI. is responsible for monetary policy, and monetary policy deals with money supply. So statement 3 is also wrong. Statement 4 is it acts as a banker to the government. Yes, central banks act as a banker to the government. So 1 and 3 are wrong and 2 and 4 are right. So your answer to this question will be A, 1 and 3, because it is asking not a function. So 1 and 3 are not a function. Now let's move on to today's last question, which is, which tax is not regressive in nature? A, entertainment tax, B, corporation tax, C, service tax, and D, value added tax or VAT. You have 40 seconds to answer the question. It is a very easy question. The answer to this question lies in the answer that do you understand the difference between direct and indirect taxes. Direct taxes are considered to be progressive taxes. Why? Because they tax an individual according to his or her income, his or her paying capacity. Regressive taxes tax everybody equally. So if there is a poor person who earns 10,000 rupees, direct taxes he will pay less. A person earning 10 lakh rupees will pay more tax. But in indirect taxes, if I go and buy a 5 kg rice, then if government is putting 10% indirect tax on 5 kgs of rice which costs 1000 rupees, then the cost will be how much? 1100 rupees. Now if a poor person wants to go and buy rice, 5 kg rice, he will have to pay 1100 rupees. And if a rich person earning 10 lakh rupees per month wants to go and buy 5 kgs of rice, he'll also get it in 1100 rupees. So it is regressive in nature because it does not distinguish between a poor person and a rich person. So here, entertainment tax is an indirect tax, regressive. Service tax is an indirect tax, regressive. Value added tax is an indirect tax, regressive. Corporation tax is a direct tax. Corporation tax is tax which is placed on the income of a corporation or a corporate firm. So it is a direct tax. So the answer to this question is B, corporation tax. So these were the 10 questions which we discussed today. Like this, we will keep discussing more questions every week. With this, today's session is over. Before I end today's session, I will like to refresh your memories with that we at GradeUp are celebrating 5-year anniversary. On this occasion, we are offering you 5-year anniversary sale in which you will get the 24-month subscription at 18,000 rupees, 12-month subscription at 15,120 rupees, 6-month subscription at 12,000 rupees, in which you will get access to IAS and EPFO courses plus mock tests. So please subscribe to our GradeUp Super. And to help your IAS exam preparation, GradeUp Super brings to you IAS 2021, a comprehensive course for GS prelims cum mains, both in English and Hindi medium, in which you will get 350 plus live GS classes for both prelims and mains, 325 plus PDFs and 5,000 practice questions, additional classes for Yojana, India Yearbook, Kurukshetra and CSAT, 30 mock tests for prelims, 12 GS tests for mains, 2 essay tests and 7 previous year papers. Now we currently are running IAS 2021 comprehensive course for GS pre-cum mains, UPSC EPFO course, complete NCERT module. This is all we are running. You will be taught by our expert faculties like Naman Jain sir for economics, Vasu Katara sir who is expert in ethics and internal security, B Teja Sai sir who is an expert for science and tech expert. Then there is Himani Suri ma'am and Shailendra sir, who are NCERT expert. Then there is Harshmeet sir, who is polity expert. Then there is Rohan Tyagi sir, who is geography and ecology expert. And then there is me, Kunwar Prateek. I teach economy and current affairs on GradeUp platform. And all of these expert faculties have themselves experienced UPSC examination and have a plethora of experience behind them. Now, on our GradeUp app, we are conducting free classes for you every day. We are conducting daily editorial analysis at 12 p.m, UPSC EPFO at 5 p.m, special 5 lecture series at 7 p.m, GS for IS 2021 Ranker series at 8 p.m, and daily current affairs at 9 p.m. With this session comes to an end. Please share, like and subscribe to our Grader IS YouTube channel. Every day in the morning as well, I am present on our YouTube channel presenting you guys daily current affairs. And every Thursday, I come to take special classes on GradeUp IS YouTube channel. With this, thank you very much. Bye-bye.